Hi everyone, welcome to the Movieception Show. I am Fariba, and we're just about to watch the 5th episode of House of the Dragon, which is really insane because uh, just going back and thinking about how the show has started, right? I mean, it has really exceeded expectations. It's really been able to kind of give us the Game of Thrones that we all loved, and now that we're getting into the 5th episode, we're just about halfway there, which means that we're about to get toward. We're let me do that. 3, 2, 1. Hi everyone, welcome to the Movieception Show. I am Fariba, and we're just about to watch the 5th episode of House of the Dragon, which means that we're about halfway through the series, which is really insane because when you kind of look back to just how the show had started, it really sunk in with all of us just how amazing the story has been, whether the characters, the dialogue, the battles, and I mean, now that and just for this episode alone, right? This is the 5th episode, and what we all know is that it's going to be a very, very special one because we are getting a wedding. And as we all know, in the world of Game of Thrones, when there's a wedding, things really get to turn down with lots and lots and lots of drama, which I'm expecting no less from this episode today. So I'm super stoked to kind of see what happens, the bombshell that occurs, so on and so forth. And not just that, but with this being the 5th episode, a lot of you may be aware that this is also going to mark the last episode for the younger cast members. So the actresses who've played Alicent and Rhaenyra. And as we all know, I know we're all kind of heartbroken because throughout this journey, we just been so enamored by the way that we've seen Rhaenyra's story going so far, especially because the one reason being the actress Millie Alcott doing such a phenomenal job, just showing her ambitions, her point of view, kind of where she feels in terms of this patriarchal world where now she's about to become the heir to the Iron Throne. And she's done such a phenomenal job. I know we're all going to really miss her, and it's just going to definitely feel very different knowing that after this episode we're going to have new older characters taking over these characters that we've learned so much in these 5 weeks. And so, but with that being said, right, it also shows that we're going to get into the big, deeper stuff in terms of the story. This is going to be the turning point, especially as we're going to get closer to kind of what happens in the Dance of the Dragon event. And not just that, but just see how Rhaenyra changes. I believe in like about a couple years, like about 8, 7, 9, or 10 years of how things have changed since she's taken reign. So that's going to be a very interesting thing that we're going to start seeing after this episode. But yeah, no, I'm super stoked to see what's going to happen. So without further ado, let's get started with the 5th episode of House of the Dragon. Is it at the Tyrell Castle?
Husband?
This is Rhea?
What brings you to the Vale?
Oh my god, she's gorgeous too.
Or have you at last come to
Vale.
consummate our marriage?
You're an Eerie?
The Vale sheep might be willing, even if I'm not. Our sheep are prettier, after all.
Oh, she
Or
really
perhaps
hates
the
him.
brother has at last had his fill of your company.
He about to kill his wife. Oh my god, she's paralyzed.
I knew you couldn't finish. Craven!
Okay. So they're on their way to Driftmark, I'm assuming? Ah. Good that he's a hand in the king. He's actually a very wise person who cares about the realm.
Listen to me, daughter. The king will die. It may be months or years, Joyce. You know it. You're no fool, and yet you choose not to see it. The time is coming, Alicent. Either you prepare Aegon to rule, or you cleave to Rhaenyra and
Okay,
pray for
Otto.
her mercy.
Okay, Otto.
Mistaken. It's just that on the very same night your father was dismissed, the Grand Maester delivered a tea to the princess's chambers.
Tea
Yes.
that the Grand Maester himself brought.
At the direction of the king, as I understand it. I do hope she's not unwell.
Rhaenyra sailed with the king to Driftmark yesterday at daybreak.
Oh, what good news. I must have been in error.
Okay. So this is how it's gonna be, huh? He very sick.
Rise, Lord Corlys.
Be welcome.
Princess.
Oh, did he lose more fingers?
I congratulate you, Lord Lionel.
Was crushed in the fall.
A most surprising end. Lady Rhea's skill as both rider and hunter were well known.
The gods are cruel.
Indeed. Lady Rhea was
He
the
knows.
fun and
He knows.
Good wife to my brother, regardless of gender, will inherit the Iron Throne from her.
Regardless of gender.
Can I presume that, in keeping with Westerosi tradition, their children would take their father's name?
Ah, that
That
explained
they
it.
would be born Valarians.
Surely, Lord Corlys, you are not proposing the Targaryen dynasty end as my name, Targaryen. Dragons will rule the Seven Kingdoms for the next 100 years, just as they did the last.
Math works out. They're technically second cousins, so
I prefer Rostock. That we perform our duty to our fathers and to the realm. And when it's done, each of us dines as we see fit.
He's still young. He will outgrow it.
is he gay?
There's no pleasure in the world like
Sounds like he's gay.
bedding a woman.
We are placing our son in danger.
The lords of the realm bent the knee to Rhaenyra and swore obeisance to her.
That was before there was a true-born prince named Aegon Targaryen. Rhaenyra's succession will be challenged. Knives will come out for her, her husband, and for their heirs.
Our house controls the realm's navy and half its dragons. Anyone fool enough to challenge me?
Of her own free will to continue what's
Ah,
Who's on the duck with a goose?
I've come to meet my fate and you make a joke of it.
That Rhaenyra will be queen of the Seven Kingdoms and you will be her king consort.
king consort.
Think of the tournament, with the feast, the battles at sea. Will you wear your crown today, Williams? You'll need a small protector.
Oh, I love how he went to that shot.
Asking you to come with me. Away from all of this. From the burdens and indignities of your inheritance. Let us leave it all behind and see the world together. We'll be nameless and free. Bless us. marriage for love, not for the crown.
This is sounding very like King Charles III type of vibe here.
It was infamy in exchange for a bushel of oranges or a ship to Versailles. It is my duty to marry a noble man from a great house, and Selena will make a fine husband.
Oh, heartbreak.
Well,
So you want me to be your whore?
Okay.
I want us to continue as we began with you as my sole protector, my white knight.
I took an oath. As a knight of your king's guard.
You
An
did
oath of
break it.
chastity. I've broken it. I've soiled my white cloak. It is the only thing I have to my fucking name.
Oh,
I thought if we were married, I might be able to restore it.
hey, it wasn't with Damon. That was what the rumor was, so she didn't
Thank
lie.
you for your honesty, Sir Kristen. You may
Rest now, Your Grace. I will bring the leeches.
If I may, Grand Maester, I took the liberty of preparing a fresh
Super sick.
herbal poultices that might be more.
He gotta die.
That will not be necessary, Your While. The leechings have always brought His Grace relief.
I was occupied, Your Grace.
Is that grayscale? That looks like grayscale. That looks like grayscale. That is literally grayscale. How is that not grayscale?
Will I be remembered as a good king, Lionel?
It's wedding time.
It is with great pleasure that His Grace King Michelle readying herself for the celebrations.
This is why men wage war. Because women will never be ready for the battle in time.
Wow, misogynist.
Your
Asshole.
presence is always such a pleasure, Lord Jason.
Princess, Your Grace.
Look at that fashion. Oh. Wow. Loving the fashion. Wow. They know how to dress. This Lannister's just super jealous, huh? Ah, she knows now. Oh, he stepped foot. Oh, Ah, there's the drama. Ho, 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 ho. That's so awkward. Oh, she purposely did this. Oh man, she about to become a bad bitch and I'm not gonna like her. Oh! She's like, I'm House Hightower. Wow, she about to really pull this off, huh?
I'll be happy, right in the midst of his speech.
Do you know what colour it glows when Old Town calls its banners to war?
Green.
So she's declaring war, basically. You can go away, Allison. No one likes you.
Congratulations, Donald. What a blessing this is for you.
Damon, stop looking at her. Damon.
I was never much of a dancer.
It's not much different to combat.
I shall hope for different.
Sir Gerald Royce, of Roomstone.
And
Okay.
Are you confessing some guilt, Sir Gerald?
I am making an accusation.
Yeah, even he knows.
Men are made to answer for their slanders. Even old cunts like you. The truth is, I'm glad you've come. I wish to speak to you about my inheritance.
What inheritance?
Lady Rhea and I had no heirs. As her husband, whatever she was due now passes to me. She stood to inherit all of Runestone. Did she not? After my niece's wedding, I plan to fly to the area and petition Lady Jane myself. Perhaps I'll see you there, Sir Gerald.
Okay. Everyone knows that at this point, so.
Has anybody ever told you you're nearly as pretty as your brother?
Well, you flatter me, my prince. I was sorry to hear about your lady wife.
Don't go, I wasn't. The lady was never very
Born protector. Look at him. The man is fully constructed.
Well, Targaryen prince, a dashing knight and a dragon rider. You appear to be every young maiden's dream.
That's only because you don't know me yet. And so are you.
Itinonde Mario sut vetina Merisa Ruben. Sipa Unetarias. Kesi onduila elostor. De kese dintok stor ut.
Ah! Who just died? Who just died? See, there's always a death. There's always a death. Who just died? What in the world?
House Velaryon, Rhaenyra of House Targaryen, to be man and wife. One flesh, one heart, one soul, now and forever.
Sir Kristen.
Got our wedding episode and it delivered. Yeah, there's just a lot to really take in. Of course, there's just like a lot of things going on between the fact that, well, first off, let's start off with how it began, right? So we have Daemon, who, of course, we finally get to see his first wife for a very brief moment before he basically killed her. And it's pretty clear that he did that because, well, he has nowhere else to go, really. So now, of course, he killed Rhea to essentially just claim her land. So that's going to be interesting. But the way that he just comes in and just like, creates such tension in the room, even at what was basically the pre-wedding, the engagement, then turned wedding, just the fact that he just keeps going after Rhaenyra, right? Like, this is just the one thing that's been a big part of what this show is about. It's this relationship between Daemon and Rhaenyra. We're going to see more of this, of course, later on, but we just keep seeing this tension between them, and it's just really interesting how things are happening right there, right? So nothing, and again, it wasn't too big of a thing, of course, except for the fact that we got to the end, right? But definitely we're seeing kind of more of that tension. But I think the most important part, of course, is Alicent, because now we know that she's about to turn into a freaking dark side, a Darth Lord, I don't know. Basically, she is going to be that bitch that we all were, preparing ourselves for. And of course, a lot of that ended up happening because of like learning the truth about Rhaenyra and like what really happened and her virtue and all that sort of stuff, right? So the fact that she did end up wearing green to the wedding, and the fact that as one of the High Towers or somebody had implied that the last time somebody had worn something as green as what she wore basically implied war. So let's be honest, this is basically kind of just a soft way of saying I have declared war. So that is going to be really, really interesting going forward. She's no longer that virtuous, little girl that she was before. She's obviously going to be that lady who's going to try and question Rhaenyra's claim to the throne and try to put her son, despite what the king has, basically proclaimed in terms of who his heir is going to be, right? So we're definitely going to start seeing more of this huge, huge feud between Rhaenyra and Alicent. That's going to be the big part, of course, going into the series. And we finally started to see kind of everything just starting to crumble between them in terms of their friendship and kind of this fire that ignites in terms of just them being enemies. So that's going to be very, very interesting. And then, of course, what else? And then we got Lenore come in. We're kind of seeing a lot more of this dynamic with the family and just kind of like, they want to get the family together, the blood and all that sort of stuff. So that's going to be an interesting bit. We didn't really get to see a lot of him, but we kind of already got an idea of who he is. He's basically gay, and now the fact that, his, partner is dead, that's going to be interesting how that's going to move forward. So that's going to be one thing to kind of keep an eye on. But of course, a big, big, big thing that's going on in terms of this episode is just the king's health, right? It keeps deteriorating. It's getting worse every time. I'm pretty sure he has grayscale, because it looks like in one scene it looked like grayscale, but can't really confirm anything. But we're seeing that this king is about to die very soon. When, we don't know. Probably by the next episode, who knows? But this king is going to die very soon. He's not looking good. He's bleeding. He's getting nosebleeds. It's eventually going to get to a point where once he does die, this whole war is going to happen, right? Even Rhaenys kind of foreshadows this, saying that, well, the moment that King Viserys dies, there's going to be a war. It's going to be an ugly war because there's going to be people who are going to question her claim. The fact that Aegon is now, the male coming from Viserys, who, and again, in this time and period where they go by male heirs, right, instead of going female heirs, but it's going to be very interesting how things are going to unfold, right? And again, considering this is a wedding, it delivered, of course, as I mentioned before. In any wedding we have, there's usually a death that happens, and we did get a death, right? So, and not just death, but drama as well. We got everything in this episode. So it definitely lived up to kind of the hype. I mean, does it meet the expectations of the red wedding and the purple wedding? Maybe not. I'll probably rank it third at least. At least it's better than that wedding that happened with Sansa and Ramsay. That's gonna be probably the one that's gonna scar everyone forever. I don't think there was any other. Well, there was also Daenerys' wedding, but yeah, no. I mean, this is a very good wedding without a doubt, right? The way it was executed, the way they really set the tone for it, and I mean, I think we kind of got to see a bit more of just like the. Alright, so my camera just died, so I'm just gonna do the rest on my iPhone 14. So basically, yeah, there's a lot of tension going on. There's a lot of tension brewing between Alicent and Rhaenyra. We're gonna see a lot more of that going forward, and the fact that Alicent is basically reaching out to Kristen kind of gives the impression that there's going to be some sort of betrayal coming forward or going to happen. So that's going to be a really interesting thing to see, and how basically how Kristen is going to kind of cause this drama that's going to happen, especially when Rhaenyra does go into power, right? So there's gonna be a lot of that going on. That's basically, this episode is kind of setting the beginnings of what's going to happen, hopefully, basically in the whole sense of Dance of the Dragon and how that's going to set the events for it. So yeah, I don't really have anything much to say aside from the fact that, I mean, this was a very epic episode with a very dramatic wedding with lots of killing, with some killings and tension, drama. There's a lot of things going on, and of course, things are really going to start brewing as we get closer and closer to the dance, basically the beginnings of the Dance of the Dragons, and it kind of gives me the impression of whether this is going to continue on for the second season. Like, now that we're about halfway through the first season, we haven't really started, seeing the whole event kind of spew yet. So I wonder how that's going to happen, right? But that's all I really have to say about this episode. Let me know what you think. Did you enjoy the wedding? How do you compare this in terms of the red wedding and the purple wedding? Was it as what you had expected? Did it exceed your expectations? What do you think is going to happen moving forward? Let me know down in the comments down below, and make sure to like and subscribe.